We call this farm Waimakare Farm. Waimakare because there's a little stream at the back of the farm, which is nice and clear. I suppose I started at school, because I went to a boarding school. And at the boarding school, we had a farm, we had animals, we had to go and milk the cows. We also had like a botanical garden that the principal used to get me to look after. I suppose that's where I began my interest in plants. Just moved from there. I went to university and studied botany. We bought this farm when I was still working at university in the 1970s. Then my husband and I, we've been traveling around with our family, different parts of the world, so it just laid like in bush. When we were in Vanuatu, that we heard the news of the Samoan taro blight, and Samoa lost her crop. So Fiji took over, and Tavuni became the dalo export for Fiji. That prompted the idea for this farm for me, because we have taro, that's our traditional crop, yams, breadfruit, bananas, hundi. They're all vegetatively produced. In other words, they don't produce seeds, they only produce suckers. So if we lose the vegetative production, we lose the whole thing. So we need to keep our different varieties like they do for the seeds of the world, so that if we do have problems, we can find something else that's resistant to that. So I came and started this farm and tried to collect different varieties of the, what we call cultivars, of our crops, taro and yams and banana and breadfruit, to try and grow them here and then encourage other farmers to do the same. This one here, we call paka. In the olden days, they used to use the leaves of paka for their tobacco, because they used to grow tobacco in their garden, and then they just wrap the tobacco leaf in this for smoking. Most of our herbal medicine is weeds. That's why we keep the weed garden here. This is another medicinal plant, but it's also very good for the bees. We have 3 different kinds of coffee plants in Fiji. We have 2 here. One is over there, and this is another one. Vanilla grows wild here. This is 2 different kinds of vasili. Vasili is a traditional crop as well. We used to use the roots for sugar before the sugar industry came. This is a medicinal plant here that we got from the beach. Whenever we start to get cough or something, we just take a few leaves and put it through the blender and drink. This we call Viviendo. Again, another very useful medicinal plant. Whenever we get sick, you take the leaves of this and drink, make a concoction, drink it. I also have part of this farm, a forest, so that when we do bring locals in, we can also show them the forest, and we show them the different things that our native plants can give us, like for example medicine, like timber, like dyes, lots of things that we can do, tools, soaps, oils, we can get from the forest. This fern here is what we call gato. We use it for Fijian homes. Inside the Fijian bure, it's ground, bare ground or bare sand, and then we need something under the mat to keep it nice and cushiony, so it's like a mattress. So this, when it's dry, remains strong, and we put it on top of the ground, and then we put the mat on top. I told you about the BBC doing some studies here in Fiji and reporting it. One of the things they reported on was this one here. It was called the farming ants of Fiji, because see the bulb there? That bulb is an ant colony. It protects the ants. That's the role of the plant. And the ants in return pollinate the flowers and carry the seeds from one plant to another, one tree to another. So that's why they're called farming ants, because they carry the seeds and plant them on another tree. This is called tiribanua. You see it has aerial roots like the tiri. The tiri is mangrove by the coast. This is an interesting plant because not only do we use the wood for timber, but we also use the bark for medicine. Evidently, it's supposed to be used in a concoction that makes barren couples fertile, and they can even determine the sex of the child that they'll have. This tree is called sa, S-A. Its bark is used for diabetic people who have sores that are not able to be healed, particularly those people nowadays who are getting their feet cut off. It's one of two emergent tree species here in this bush. Emergent species are very important because they go above the canopy and therefore they cut out most of the sun. But in the process they also bring a lot of the nutrients and feed the plants underneath that don't get enough sun. This has an edible fruit and it's a very good timber tree. This vine going up here, it gets much bigger. This is the vine that travelers in the forest cut when they get thirsty and there's no water, because they can get water out of this vine. It's called walai in Fijian. This little plant here that's like a fern, it's called Selaginella. It's an ancient plant that's over 400 million years old. That's the time it's been on Earth, not this particular plant, but the species. We have 11 species in Fiji, and there's still over 700 species worldwide. This one here, it's called wame. We use it for making baskets too. Again, it's a skill that only certain people have, and they hand it down from mother to daughter. It's the women in Teilevu. This plant here is called makita. If you feel its leaves, it's like plastic. We use it for thatching for the walls of the Fijian bure. And the fruit is used for cooking canoes and for dyeing hair. That tree we used to use for making canoes in the olden days because it's hard. It's a good timber tree, but it's also light, it's buoyant. Forests provide shelter for animals, but they also provide like a spiritual center or shelter for human beings. If you go to the forest, you will probably feel a difference in the air. There's more oxygen, there's more peace, and there's some sort of feeling of shelter from the trees and the birds and the animals that live in the forest. It also gives you sort of spiritual development and comfort.